Everyone, this is Menz here. I'm going to be playing the Tier 3 Japanese battleship, the Kawachi. Now, World of Warships, it just entered closed beta, and there's no non-disclosure agreement anymore, so I'm going to be covering it, and you can find a few guides on menzgaming.com. There'll be a link in the description below. Many of you know me from watguru.com. From here on out, any non-World of Tanks games I'm going to be covering over on Menz Gaming, just because it was a little difficult setting it up on Wakuru, and this will allow me to still keep things the same on Wakuru while being able to provide other games on Menz Gaming. Now, as you can see, World of Warships is a little different. Starting out, at least with movement, you can tap W to get up to full speed. It's similar to World of Tanks, except for you do not have to hold your acceleration button, essentially. And that's nice, because it would be very annoying if you had to hold W the whole time. Now this person is not moving, so it's just, now he is. Shit. Okay, so he was moving. Now he stopped. Now he's moving backwards when I start to turn. Fantastic. But as you can just see by this, World of Warships, when you turn, you don't turn as fast as a tank, of course, because you're sailing through the water. So keep that in mind, because especially in battleships, you're not going to be able to do as sharp as turns as you would expect if you're used to playing World of Tanks. And even though it's a lot slower paced, World of Warships, it's very important to still kind of micromanage, because if someone's firing at you, you should be able to maneuver in between shots to kind of dodge incoming fire. Now, I didn't expect to hit anything there, but that was just showing off. You can actually follow your shells if you hit your main mouse button. Now, let's see. Don't really have a good shot on those guys. Now I'm staying at long range because as a battleship, you have pretty decent range. Now you do have good armor, but I like to stay at range at least to begin with, and then get closer in later on. Which I actually do not want to turn that far. Now, as far as using high explosive shells and AP shells, at long range, generally HE is better, because with AP you really want to hit specific areas, because you'll do more damage that way. HE at longer ranges, you're going to be hitting a lot of the deck area of a ship and causing fires and doing less damage than the AP round, but you're going to be crippling a tank in other ways. Okay, now this guy just got screwed. I actually do want to start getting closer in. Unfortunately, I wasn't really paying attention and noticed that my teammates kind of turned into the enemy there. World of Warships is very reliant upon you working with your team. And if you don't work with your team, then more likely than not, you're really going to be screwed. So I'm switching over to AP here, because my shells are coming at an angle, since we're at under 10 kilometers now, where I'm going to hit most of the side of that ship. And usually that's when I'll swap the AP, when I'm getting side shots on a ship. Unless if you're shooting at a very weak destroyer with a very high penetrating gun. In that case, you'll want to switch to HE so you don't over penetrate. Alright, so he's gone. This guy, don't know if he's going to be... It looks like he might be turning back to the left, so that's good. However, I'm not going to have a shot on him for a little bit anyway, so I'm going to help out. in the north a little bit. Now, battleships, as you see, they do have a special perk. If you hit T... Ah, crap. I figured that might happen. If you hit T, you actually can repair some damage of your ship. Alright, so we're going to be taking a bit of fire here, most likely. So I'm going to prepare for that. I'm going to start turning just to throw their aim off a little bit. And hopefully I get a good first shot on this guy. He's not really moving very fast. But I want to get behind this island. I should have one more shot before I make it behind there. Although this guy, he's not really moving, so he's unfortunately gonna get hit hard here, hopefully. Although at this range, you can still use HE because it's really hard to hit the citadel and underneath the turrets with AP at this range. However, I'm just gonna stick with it for the hell of it. I should be able to get a nice shot on him. I'm just going to start closing the gap. Now you do have two options of World of Warships. You can play against AI, and I recommend that at least for your first battle or two, and you also can PvP. Now, against AI you don't make as much experience and credits, but it does give you a decent look at how the game's going to be played, and they still put up a decent challenge, but nothing spectacular. As you see, I'm playing against AI here just to make this video without too much hassle. But AP can give you shots like that where you do a crap ton of damage in a shot. You just have to hit the key spots, and usually you can kind of judge when your shells are going to start raining down from above at long range. Like, more likely than not, I'm not going to do a lot of damage with this shot, but it's what I have loaded if I get past this island. Which I actually did hit a couple times. As you see, there's still spotting mechanics in this, like World of Tanks. However, it's based off of your ship's detection range, and basically it's kind of like camo. Your ship can be seen from a certain range itself, so you can actually see X amount of meters or kilometers in this game, and you could be seen from X amount of meters. It really just comes down to your ship class and the size of it. But starting out, the main thing is learning how to maneuver your ship, and also how to lead ships and properly fire on enemies. And unfortunately, I kinda screwed myself here. Now, make sure you do not ram allies. You don't do a ton of damage ramming allies, but you still slow each other down and make yourself a very easy target. Ramming enemies, I do not recommend it. You'll take a ton of damage, and it's absolutely not worth it unless you're about to die and your last basically maneuver is to try to take out an enemy warship right before your death by ramming him. But you're going to do damage based on your displacement, so you can do a ton of damage really easily with ramming, but in the process you're going to take a ton of damage yourself. See, let's get a shot here since he's not going to last too much longer. As you see, set him on fire, which HE is good at, and at longer ranges using HE you can destroy a lot of ships by just setting them on fire and crippling them. And at the same time, though, if enemies using AP and they're getting good shots on you and hitting key areas, they'll outdamage you. But just using HE, you can whittle people down just by using that. Okay, so let's hop into the St. Louis here and into a PvP battle. Now, torpedoes. I haven't played a ship with torpedoes as far as this video goes, but number one thing is you do not want to fire them and potentially hit a teammate. There's no such thing as a friendly torpedo. So when in doubt, do not fire them near your team because you're going to most likely kill them. Now, something to keep in mind with them is they do have a maximum range and a certain speed. If you release them too far, they'll either not reach your target, or the target will have enough time to turn into or away from your torpedoes, and they'll just go right through the torpedo spread, even if you set it to be a narrow arc. Now, once you get to torpedoes, you're going to see it's really user-friendly. It provides you a little indicator where to lead your target, which that's fairly accurate when you're firing ships or torpedoes off of your ship. Now, using torpedo bombers off of a carrier, that's not so accurate. You want to control that yourself. But when fired torpedoes off of your ship, basically that indicator is good if your enemy isn't going to be turning. But torpedoes is all about getting in close to release them, surprising your enemy, or kind of leading them one direction with your first torpedo wave, and then firing a different one at an angle, so when they turn, that second one's going to nail them. So it's kind of fun playing with torpedoes, and a lot of people actually hate them, but at the same time, they're not overpowered. It's just they catch people off guard if you're not paying attention. Now, just looking at this image here, something I touched on, World of Warships is very team-oriented, much more than World of Tanks, I would say, because it's a little slower paced, but at the same time, you're still sailing your ship, you're firing a lot, you're worrying about AA once you get into higher tiers, and staying as a group. Not only will you be outputting a lot more damage on enemy warships, but your anti-aircraft capabilities increase the more ships you have together. And it's very important once you start facing a lot of carriers, because you're going to notice if you're alone and torpedo bombers come in and you're against a very good aircraft carrier player, you're going to take a crap ton of damage each time torpedo bombers come to you. But if you have 2 or 3 ships with you, you guys are going to take out a lot of the planes before they're actually able to drop the torpedoes on you. Now I'm playing the St. Louis now, which it is not a battle ship. And with that, you have a little less armor, but St. Louis has a ton of guns, as you can see. It's pretty fun to play, and being a cruiser, it's not well armored, but it's alright, but it has a lot of firepower. Just don't expect it to soak up a lot of damage. Granted, in the last match in the Kawachi, which I might be saying that wrong, I didn't really get shot, so didn't really get to see that. So I'm going to hope that this guy is just going to go straight, and I'm turning around him, which you do not want to fire like that because you run the risk of the enemy spotting you quicker. And not running into your allies is very important in World of Warships, as I touched on earlier, which is why I always keep an eye out, because some people are just kind of clueless and they'll go straight ahead to the flag. When, yes, the flag is important, however, at the same time, it's right in the middle of the map, and if you go there, you're going to take a crap ton of damage. I'm just going to lead that guy a little bit because I should be able to hit him. Which I got a little lucky. I hit his citadel. Let's see if I can get one more shot. But I'm actually going to start focusing on the St. Louis here. Kind of going off my own here, which is a gamble. But at the same time, I see at least one guy is coming up with me, so I'm not too concerned here. Now this guy's actually decent. He's trying to turn left and right in between shots, which is very smart. And I'm going to be doing the same thing. I'm just taking that one last shot before he goes behind the island there. Which I'm going to swap to AP after my next round loads. Okay, it's turned a little bit. Okay. I'm pretty sure he's still turning, which makes it a little difficult to be able to hit him. But I'm going to try to get a shot on him. Which, as you see, someone gets launched torpedoes and he's turning right into them. So he's going to take quite a bit of damage there. Now I swapped over to AP because usually I swap over right around 9 kilometers in most ships. It's when I find that you can reliably hit certain areas if you can lead your targets well enough. Now I'm running towards some trouble here, so I'm actually gonna kind of screw myself as far as doing damage for a second, just by focusing on where I'm driving. But here's the enemy aircraft carriers back here. You want to use HE on most of them and try to aim towards the middle rear end of the ship. You don't want to aim too far back, but you also don't want to aim too far towards the middle. That's where their critical areas, i.e. the citadel, is. Most ships you'll find it under the main tower and the turrets. You aim right above the waterline is your best bet to do a lot of damage. And this person, never stop. The only time you should stop is if your engine gets taken out and you can't repair it. Otherwise, always keep moving, always keep changing directions, or else you're going to take a ton of damage in World of Warships. It's not like World of Tanks where you can set up in a good spot and angle your armor. World of Warships, your armor does count, but your armor mostly comes from your movements and changing directions. Alright, so he's getting a little close, so I'm going to swap over. I'm actually going to start turning so I get more guns on him. He's firing torpedoes, so he's actually he's not going to start turning because torps missed him. I'm going to start turning hard right, get these shots off before my teammate nails him here. I expected him to hit him with another round of torps. And that's how you use torpedoes. You get in close, you release them when the enemy has no chance of dodging them whatsoever. Now this guy is going to be a little harder to hit, which I'm switching over to HE because there's a carrier up here, and then there's this destroyer that's very small, very poorly armored, and I'd rather hit him with HE so I don't over penetrate with AP shells. This guy's starting to turn. It's very, oh god, this guy just got nailed. But to deal with destroyers, yes, it sucks getting close to these guys because they have torpedoes, but it makes it a lot easier for you to actually hit him. Which he has deployed smoke. And his torpedoes are coming my way, so I'm gonna wanna get the hell out of that. Now, destroyers do have smoke screens. Which are very annoying to deal with, but they do give them a use. There's that little fellow. Alright, so that guy's sending some torpedo bombers. Oh shit. I just barely missed that. I forgot that they were still coming my way. And he's starting to run away. Here we go, just a little more. Come on. He just fired a couple torpedoes. There we go, he's a goner. And I'm gonna start turning, so hopefully I can get out of the way of those torpedoes. They just dropped some too, I believe. Shit, this one might hit me. Okay, yeah, they set me up real good here. I'm gonna be hurt badly there, but that comes with they manually aim those torpedoes, and they did a very good job at setting me up there. But unfortunately for them, they didn't take me out, and I'm still kicking. Now, unfortunately, I did use my repair ability, and I'm now unable to fix my damage modules. Want to set him on fire because when they're on fire, they cannot launch planes. So I just want to try to get both of these guys on fire. But unfortunately, it looks like I might just end up sinking here. So I can't really turn, I can't really do anything here. Yep. But yeah, if you can fire HE at carriers, because if you keep them on fire, they're not going to be able to do a ton of damage over a long period of time to you. Once their planes run out of bombs, you're good to go. Yes, AP might do more damage at some points. However, keeping them on fire, since they only can repair once in any given moment, will deal with a carrier better than AP, because they're not really able to do damage back at you. Now that guy's kind of screwed. Hopefully our St. Louis starts turning away from these torpedoes. He doesn't even notice them, but he's only going to get hit by one. But sometimes one is all that matters, and he got hit pretty damn hard. Which, your anti-aircraft guns, along with your secondary armament guns, are AI controlled. So anyone that comes within a certain distance, your smaller caliber guns will hit, and any aircraft that come within your warship will also be hit by your AI controlled guns. However, you can also hold control to bring up your mouse, and say this plane was close enough and I was driving or sailing the ship, you can click on them to be able to basically tell your AI that's the target I want you to hit and make that your number one target. And it actually works out very well because you'll do a ton of damage to that specific aircraft. Some people will actually send their fighter aircraft with their bombers. So your anti-air, if you're not manually picking targets with it, your AA will be shooting at the fighters along with the torpedo bombers, and the torpedo bombers is what you want to focus on because they're the ones that are going to do a ton of damage to you. So it's something that's added in to provide another layer of depth, and often people overlook that, but it is a very important part. And if you don't master it, then you're going to find yourself in trouble once you get to higher tiers where there's a lot more aircraft flying around. Now, we should have this, and unfortunately though, when it's down to just aircraft carriers, which usually the aircraft carriers are the last to go, it's a little bit boring because they usually hang on the edges of the map, kind of like artillery. But oftentimes when I was playing aircraft carriers in the previous beta, I would set up behind my strong flank and kind of follow them. This guy got himself next to an island, and unfortunately he has nowhere to go with these torpedoes. He should just stay straight ahead, and he should start turning, because this is what this guy did to me. It sent some torps this way, and then his other bombers should, even though it doesn't look like he had set that up right, he has them running away, they should have had the other ones crisscrossing, and there's no way to dodge every single one of the torpedoes when they do that. But it looks like he kind of forgot to do that, and he might actually still hit this guy. He should have started to turn right, but it looks like he's starting to, yeah, he's slowing down. He should be fine. Now, since World of Warships just started the closed beta and you're seeing these videos, something I'm very happy at is if you see the FPS counter, it's fluctuating a lot because it's still beta. However, this is nearly all maxed out. And in World of Tanks, even though I have a freaking awesome PC, I'm only able to play some settings on high, some on medium, some on low, and it still runs around 60 frames per second in World of Tanks. Some maps in the 30s and 40s. World of Warships, this is all maxed out except for some of the just post-processing and stuff. I've turned that down from the max settings just down to like high and medium, and the game looks and feels wonderful, and it's very nice that it is running this smoothly this early on. Now, something I've said a few times, the Citadel, as you kind of see on this little badge, because I haven't made any images up as far as like weak spot guides and stuff, which I plan on, but not just yet though. It's still a beta. Citadel, you want to aim for the center of the ship and underneath the main turrets. That's where you're going to do a ton of damage with your AP, and even HE at times. Watching this video, and I mentioned earlier in the video, if you want to follow any World of Warships content I'm going to be doing, it's going to be on menzgaming.com. There's going to be a link in the video description below. Essentially, it's going to be the same setup and run the same as watguru.com, but I needed to start a second website since I wanted to keep WatGuru just for World of Tanks. I didn't want to split that off. And with Menz Gaming, there's not a ton of things on it, but I have a few guides up for starting out World of Warships that explain some do's and don'ts, and there's a new player guide up there that'll help out players who have played World of Tanks, or even if you haven't played World of Tanks, it'll kind of explain the basics of World of Warships and what you should focus on learning first when you're just hopping into the game. So anyway, thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and check out my website, menzgaming.com. See you around.